Welcome back, folks, to Be Kind, Be Happy, episode 20. Today, we're going to talk about education. As teachers, we're going to talk about why education is important, how to educate ourselves, and how to create value for society through education. So there's a lot of fun topics here, and I hope you guys enjoy our episode.
Cool, guys. Welcome back. It's good to be back for our 20th episode. But before we get started, let's begin with 3 deep breaths together. So when you're ready, back straight, shoulders rolled back, eyes closed. Taking the first breath in for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And releasing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Second breath in, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then breathing out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Final breath in, fill up the lungs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathing out completely. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, when you're ready, open up the eyes and let's get into it. So as Leigh mentioned, we're going to get straight into the importance of education and why we both value education so highly. So first talking about the role of education, why it's so important. Then we move on to how we can educate ourselves effectively. And then the third part, we talk about how we can use education as a way to bring value to society. So Leigh, let's begin with the first question being, what is the importance of education to you? And why is it that you've decided to become a teacher?
Yeah, so great question. So to me, education is important because without education, we're not passing on any knowledge, and like you're kind of stuck in a lot of ways, especially in our society. Education is kind of the key to opening pathways for yourself. The more you know and the more you learn, the more your capacity for learning increases, and also your ability to kind of care about bigger issues or real world problems happens as well, right? It's like that idea where if you have like that small town mentality, small education, and then you can't really look at the bigger picture of things too, which is kind of a tough thing as well. Yeah, and I've kind of seen now through going to different countries and stuff, how we have it here. I probably took it for granted, and so now I'm not really trying not to do that. And I want to share my perspectives with some students. And like ultimately I want to grow as a person. I think education is the best way to do that, right? What about yourself?
Yeah, Leigh, I think because we like to discuss things that relate to self-development and personal growth. And all of this starts with educating ourselves, like learning. It's all about learning. And so it's like a lifelong process where anything that we want to improve, anything that we want to achieve in life has to be done, can only be done through learning and education. So if we want to be smarter, be more effective, be a better teacher, be a better partner, be a better father, be a better family member, anything in life, it always starts with education and how we can learn through the experience of other people, learn through the knowledge that other people can pass on to us. And then we can use this as a way to develop ourselves and then eventually pass that on to other people in the future, so that every generation is always improving. But I really do think that education is probably the most important aspect of life, because it's the foundation that everything else is achieved. Without education, how do we learn to do anything? That's why we have to be we have to be so grateful for our teachers. We have to be so grateful for our parents and our positive influences in life, because we are the way we are. We are a product of all the past educations that we've been given from other people. And so
Yeah.
everything that we know, our knowledge base is entirely dependent on our past education. And how we
Yeah.
move forward is also dependent on how well we have educated ourselves in the past and how well we continue to educate ourselves now and in the future.
Yeah, and so it's a way of passing on wisdom, and um, in societies that are very corrupt, or you have like a dictator taking over. One of the first things they do is like take over and control the education system, control the knowledge. So obviously that's an important, very important aspect of life. And so it's really important to further your knowledge. And again, we're living in a time now at 2020 where everyone in the world really has, if they have access to the internet, they have access to all the knowledge.
Yes.
So the importance of learning how to learn is
Yes.
really highlighted right now, because the wisdom is out there.
Definitely, Leigh, in terms of like right now being the best time to learn anything. We've got the internet at our fingertips. So it's not a matter of how to learn now. It's a matter of having the motivation to learn, the inspiration to learn. And whatever we want to learn, we can learn so easily because everything is accessible now on our mobile phones, on our
Yeah.
computer, on the internet. And so if we expand a bit more about the importance of education, I actually think that a very good way to emphasize that is to ask ourselves, what happens if a society was to lack education? So like the absence of education, how do you think a culture or a society would go, in what direction would it grow without education? That's a
Yeah.
good way to highlight the importance
That's a
of
good
education.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it ultimately education pushes us forwards, without the education you might be stuck in the past, or you might even start
Regressing, right?
declining, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
regressing.
for sure.
So that's an important point as well.
And then like I
Yeah.
think one of the main things in terms of education, not only how to better ourselves in terms of like our skill sets and our experience and our knowledge base, but also in terms of like understanding right from wrong, because that's so
Yeah.
important to have like a moral compass, for example. And that's where like family values, societal values, cultural values, they're so important, because if we cannot agree with what is right and wrong, then there will be so much chaos and there'll be so much like conflict in society. And so I think this education is so important, but not always emphasized or not always valued these days. When we talk about education, we straight up think about, like college degree, we think about our
Yes.
qualifications, and that's what we think education is. But on a more fundamental level, it's about having a moral compass, knowing what's right from wrong, and living life according to what is right. So that's also a very important
Yes.
aspect of education.
So just to transition it, Byron, I'd like us to talk about how we can educate ourselves. Like, how can we be better self-educators?
Yeah, and I feel like this is such an important aspect of life, because only when we start to value education, understand the importance of it, and know how to apply it in ourselves, can we really start to see like great progress in our lives. And I think the first thing is, what do I want? In what direction do I want to educate myself? And what do I want to learn? And where will it take me once I learn this? And then how do I learn it? So I think the first step is, what do I actually want to learn? And then why? So that's the intention. And then how do I do it? The how is like, what platform can I learn? And where can I learn? But the first thing is,
Yeah.
what do I want to learn? And that what is such an important question, because it gives us direction. If we don't even know in which direction we want to learn, for example, do we want to be an accountant? Do we want to be a farmer? Do we want to be a teacher? Do we want to be a builder? Where do you want to start your education process? And then why? Like that why is so important, because it's your motivation. It's when you're feeling lazy, tired, hopeless. Why did you want to do it in the first place? Is that motivation still there, and is it strong enough to push you forward?
Yeah.
But then like there's right now we can learn anything. So it's about what do I want to learn to benefit me and help me achieve my goals. So it really does come back. The first question is, what is my goal in life? And what do I need to learn to achieve that goal? Right?
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
very different to every different individual. So there's no right or wrong in terms of which way you want to take your education process. For me personally, I just want to be the best person I can be the most capable, kindest, wisest, most patient, hardest working. A lot of the things that I want to learn and educate myself in is in the inner virtues and qualities of of what makes a good character. So these things I just learned experientially and developed,
Yeah.
mentally and psychologically. Like patience is not learned online, or like compassion, or like diligence, or endurance, and like wisdom. A lot of these things are just learned through the practice of living mindfully, living
Yes.
consciously, living in the moment. So that's one thing that fascinates me more than anything else. Beyond that, of course, it's important to learn how to be financially stable, how to be financially strong. The more wealth we have, the more our life opens up, the more capable we are to action the things that we want. And it does open up life
True.
in every single way. It opens up opportunities. We can do more if we have more money. And then another thing is health, right? I focus so much on educating myself on how to rest well, how to sleep well, how to eat well, how to exercise well, and so I can maximize my energy, so that with this oversupply of energy I can allocate that to where I want to learn. Without this energy I can't learn anything, even if I have the intention to. So I place a lot of emphasis on my education, on my health, of course, finances, of course, my inner qualities and my inner virtues. But then also, I'm a teacher by trade, and so I focus a lot on how to be a good teacher. Being a good teacher is not easy, and it's not just about the
Yes.
material and content. Of course, that's important too, but beyond that, it's about what type of character do you have. Are you able to impress
Yeah.
on every student differently, dependent on what they need to be pushed in the right direction? So being able to be flexible in our teaching approach, being able to adapt in the moment when something happens in the classroom or whatever that requires us to do something different. So there's a lot of things involved in education for me, so that I can achieve my goals and be the best person that I can be. But I think that's always going to be very different for everyone, and
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong here.
Think about what you're talking about too, though, right? And you're talking about the growth mindset.
Yes.
So it's very important to have a growth mindset, right? So like the idea that you're going to be a lifelong learner, you can
Yes.
never know enough, and you're always able to be taught from anyone. Like
Yes.
everyone's done something different than you and is able to educate you in some way. And then
Yes.
also it's like, oh, I'm an English. If you're an English teacher, like I know everything about English. It's just like it's unbelievable. There's always more you can learn about any subject, but then any field in life. That's part of the problem with the health industry. Oh my God, and like the workout, like the bro
Yeah.
science. It's like some reason something you learned when you're like 18 at the gym is like transcends your whole life, and for some reason is more valid than like a PhD. You know scientist. It's unbelievable. So yeah, having that growth mindset is like super important, right?
I think what you just said in terms of like having that bro science and that being so like effective, I think it's because like the things that we learn like in university, in school, in college for qualification, that's just like book knowledge. But until we apply it in
Yeah,
everyday life,
yeah.
and then we experience it, we live it, we apply it, only then does it become
Mhm.
like our knowledge, like our
Yes,
like
yes,
personal,
yes.
intimate understanding. Otherwise, it's just book knowledge, which doesn't always transfer to much value because we're not using it. We're only just
Yeah, yeah.
just reading it in words and concepts, but not applying it.
Absolutely right. Like you can read as much as you want about enlightenment, but you're not enlightened until you are enlightened.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, and remaining positive as well, right? Like, especially as a teacher, right? Like, if you
Yes.
can keep a classroom positive, then all of them, their capacity to learn is higher. And
Yeah.
even if they're goofing around a bit, right? Like, the guys are just goofing around, but they're happy and they're in a good mood. Then okay, guys, let's look at this. And it's like everyone's like not dreading, like, oh, math. Like, if you have that mindset where like, math gets displayed on the projector and now we're all like, oh no, we've already put a wall up. And
Yeah.
once you go back and you try to like tap into your memory bank and remember what that formula was or how to do that, all you remember is your feeling of being like, oh, I
Yeah.
hate this. You're never
Yeah.
going to know it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to try and like encourage the positivity in the classroom, and then that applies to when you're trying to learn or self-learn, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
be positive. If you're in a really negative headspace, you should probably just take a break. You should probably go meditate, because you're not going to be able to absorb the knowledge very well, right?
Yeah.
That's
And then
just what
like,
I've found from my own experience.
if we were to identify the things that we want to learn, the next step would be, what are some good platforms to use to learn the things that we want to learn? For me, like YouTube has become my go-to platform.
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
and Google, how to do this. And you get so many different videos from people, and then, it's so convenient to
Very
learn
true.
anything. Even if it's
Yeah,
like how to
yeah.
fix my printer. What happens if this error message pops up, like
Yeah, it's a
anything in
good
life.
point.
Yeah. Google and YouTube has been my go-to for learning anything and everything.
To touch on that too, Byron, it's like that idea of like you're not helpless, right? And then like
Yeah.
that's what I was saying too. Like the more you learn, the more you increase your capacity to learn. But also like you're applying your teachings and you're applying your wisdom, and that enhances everything. So then the next time you run into a problem, like it's unconscious when you're fixing the problem, or someone else has a problem. It's like, oh yeah, I did that, boom, and that's just like this whole lifelong learner bubble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just so important. I agree with you on YouTube
I don't
and just
know.
anything online, right? Like there's also a few websites now where you can do courses too, right? Like
Yeah.
Stacked Skills is a good one as well, where they have courses and then you can pay some money and but they'll give you like like who wrote the course, like what's his background, like what are his or hers qualifications. So that's important as well. There's an actual like platform, and they get like some high level dudes. Like there was one that I saw, it was like Chris Hadfield, who's like he's like a Canadian hero, astronaut, and he was doing like a master class on like space. Like that's just epic. Like the idea that you could be learning from
Yeah.
like an idol or something, right? Like that
Yeah.
definitely would increase your
For sure.
enthusiasm and motivation, and that might be
Yeah.
like a good entry point, where you're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
interested in this idea, let's check this out, right? Like
Yeah.
again, Ron Howard directing or something, or
Yeah.
some actor teaching you how to act. Like it's just
Yeah.
interesting stuff,
And you
yeah.
you you get so much efficiency for the time, right? Like in a 1 hour masterclass, you can learn so much because this person is such an expert in that field that
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
provides so much value for you. It makes that hour so productive, right? Like you get so much value, as
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, for that hour masterclass.
Yeah. And like I also had a friend, and he was on just on LinkedIn grinding out. They have like little courses on LinkedIn. So he was like grinding out like SQL and like Python courses just to add to his little qualifications and stuff.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, he said that was pretty good. Like, not super long, but pretty thorough, and just a good introduction to all those different little platforms. So that
Yeah.
was nice as well. Yeah,
Nice.
and then obviously you can go back to school.
Yeah.
So that's the key too, right? In a lot of ways. But yeah, and like learning also is learning through experiences. And in order to learn through experiences, you have to reflect on them, right? So like you go somewhere, and then when you're back, you're like thinking about it, reflecting on like what was awesome, what did I learn anything there? Because then you're adding to your wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just like, because time goes by, before we know it, you're gonna be 40 and I'll be 35 or something. So it's important to be introspective too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's like the meditation too, right?
I think like right now we've
So
only been talking about like intellectual education, but if we were to talk about more on like spiritual education, I think like
yeah,
cultivating that wisdom and insight, I think it's
yeah,
all about being mindful, living consciously, And I think through
Yes.
living mindfully, consciously, being aware in the moment, that's how we learn causal relationships. This happens because of this happens, and I've actually experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
When you experience something firsthand, it's so much more real to you than just reading it off a book.
Mm-hmm.
And that only happens you can only learn experientially when you're in the moment, when you're conscious and being mindful and aware as things happen. And this has happened because of this, I know, because I
Yeah.
experienced it. And so understanding cause and effect relationship is wisdom. That's experiential, that's deep, and that takes us away from suffering towards joy and peace.
But I want to jump into um, adding value to society. And
Yeah.
that's like why I became a teacher, like,
Yeah.
because I was thinking, like, what can I do? What's one thing that I can do that's like a profession that I can actually feel like I'm making a real difference, right? And there's going to be days and maybe years where you're like, I don't even know if I'm doing anything. Like maybe they're not even like learning, but hopefully not. I really want to make a difference there, and so that's why I'm putting my energy into it.
Yeah.
So how can we add value to society through education?
Yeah, I think that's also very important. And, like, if we only spend our entire lives benefiting ourselves, I think
Yeah.
that's not for me. And I feel like that's not very deep and grand of a life. There's nothing wrong with
Yes.
it. But for me, I feel like it's equally important to benefit other people as much as I benefit myself. And I think with
Yeah.
that mindset, when you benefit yourself, you're increasing your capacity to benefit other people. So it's not like they're separate. When you benefit other people,
Hmm.
you also benefit yourself through revision and
Yes.
through like reaffirming your understanding. Doing this podcast, it seems like we're sharing and discussing concepts that we've learned, but I feel like we're learning so much in the process of making this podcast. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a good
like,
point.
it's like the process of reviewing. So providing value is also a good way to provide value to yourself. And when you provide value to yourself and you grow and improve your capacity, that means that when the opportunity comes, when you can help someone, when someone needs something, you're ready and you can do it more effectively. So when you help yourself, you help others. When you help others, you help yourself. But in terms of helping other people, as long as you've got that intention, anything that you do will directly or indirectly help other people if you have
Yes.
that intention. For example, eating, this is like a very Buddhist perspective. When I'm eating, when a monk eats, it seems like he's just benefiting himself. But how can he serve society without the energy? So he's using the energy that he's using his energy time as a way to help other people. His intention for consuming energy through food is so he can help other people. So eating for him, for a monk, is helping other people. Sleeping is the same thing. He's sleeping to help other people. So when you have that intention to help other people, anything and everything that you do immediately is directly or indirectly helping society, giving value and providing service to society. But how we do it
Yeah.
directly, I guess, is what we should be talking about, right?
No, dude, that was beautiful. I really like that. And
Yeah.
it's true. And that's true with anything when you feel like you have a purpose, right? Like
Yeah.
obviously, the monk has has an ultimate like clear purpose and focus. And so, but same if you feel like you have a purpose or your life purpose, then everything you do should be in a way making yourself more geared towards or
For
better
sure.
equipped for that purpose. And so then
Yeah.
anything you're doing, whether it's like literally like maybe it is just decompressing and just relaxing, that is, you're right, like that is giving you energy and making you able to be at a high level when you're actually, in the
Required to.
moment doing your
Yeah.
purpose. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was a really good point. And
Yeah.
that's something like unconsciously I've been doing, now that I've been in the classroom, like I want to be just quiet. Like it's a long, chaotic, loud day
Yeah.
in a school with like, hundreds of kids, and so after school ends, it's nice to just be quiet for a bit. Like it actually is necessary. As much as I'm an extrovert and I could talk all day, I could keep doing it, but eventually I will bonk, like
Yeah.
eventually I just like will crash. So I do need that like time to be quiet and decompress and be awake too, not just go right to sleep, but like
Yeah.
decompress, relax, and then because this is something that I took really well from you over the last like 6 months. And it's like how you go to sleep is like how you will die, right? Like the mental space and your energy, all of that. So
Yeah.
it's like I try to, when I go to sleep, I try to go to sleep peacefully and with that intention. I've been sleeping, man. Like I go to sleep early, and I have really nice sleeps, and
Yeah.
like they're really nice and they're beneficial. Like when I wake up, most days I wake up and I'm awake, like I'm no
Nice.
longer foggy.
Yeah.
But I know if I were to push it like 2 more hours, then in the morning it to the next day, it's that 2 hours is not worth it. I'm
Yeah.
not at a high level. I'm at like a B plus, and I need to be at an A plus.
Yeah.
So that decompression time is beautiful. And when you said that, it really excited me because it's like, all right, that's what the monk does as well,
Yeah.
right? Like
For sure.
we're eating to benefit society, and we're
Yeah.
sleeping to benefit society. I
Yeah.
love it. I
As long
love
as the
that.
intention's there, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, you have to have the intention.
Yeah. But of course, then we talk about directly influencing
Yeah,
society and
directly.
providing
Yeah, sure.
value. Then I think it's more about finding your purpose in life, finding what excites you,
Mm-hmm.
what you're good at,
Mm-hmm.
what your passion, where your passion lies, and then turning that into a service. So we could be anything.
Yes. See.
But if you can use it as a service, for me, like we like children, we like teaching, we like speaking, we like sharing, we like educating, and then there's a need for teachers. So it just so happens that we can be a teacher, so that the things that so that it aligns with what we're good at, what we enjoy, where our interest lies. It's also a need that society has, and so I think if we can find that intersection between a passion and a service, what other people
Yeah.
need, then we can use that to develop our way of providing value to the world and just refining and growing and improving our skill set, our capacity. We just improve and level up and level up. We know, like, we can feel as people that whatever we are mindfully, consciously trying to improve, we see the improvement. As a
Mm-hmm.
teacher, like, I'm always trying to first create that foundation for the students where there is no foundation. They don't even know the ABC. They don't even know what I, you, we, he, it, they, she means. So to create that basic foundation in the shortest time possible, only then can I actually start teaching anything else. If they don't even
Yeah.
understand any single word that I'm saying, how does the education begin? So trying to immediately create that foundation as fast as possible has become something that I'm so good at now, because I've had to just keep refining that process every single semester. And so now I know immediately when a student is weak, teach them phonics, teach them the alphabet, teach them the pronouns, teach them verbs. So they can use verbs. I like this,
Yes.
I want this, he has that, he likes this. And then through verbs, we add nouns to create actual sentences. And then we can add adjectives to make it more descriptive. And there, we just create that foundation where they have more confidence to speak, more confidence in themselves that they can understand what's actually happening. And from there, we can start having more fun with education. But, like, my point is, where we want to develop our skill set and we actually consciously try to improve there, we will definitely see the progression. That's very encouraging. And that's how we know that we're going in the right direction.
Dude, really, really enjoyed hearing that. And that's exactly true, right?
Yeah.
You have to build that foundation. So just to add my direct influence to society as
Yeah.
well, Byron, I think that is so important, and having this growth mindset is like the key, because through education, through having an idea where I'm going to keep trying new things and keep learning new things, you may find your why, right?
Yeah.
So you may have already found it, and then you're going to be adding value to society, obviously, because if you're doing what you feel in your heart you're meant to be doing, then you will definitely be doing something well, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to keep searching and learning, and hopefully you'll find your why, and that will be
Yes.
like the way you really add value to society, if you're doing something that you are good at and you are passionate and meant to do.
Just to build on that, Leigh, because you're absolutely spot on. Most people sometimes will ask, but I don't know in which direction I want to be going in. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know where I want to be creating that value. And so the best advice I've heard from anyone, from everywhere, is you still have to take forward steps. Like, you can't just stay
Yes.
stagnant just because you don't know which
Keep
direction.
going.
You don't take a direction. You still need to, like, dip your toes in different places to see what excites you, what interests you. Do something. And
Yeah.
my grandmaster, when I was a monk in Taiwan, he said, no effort is ever wasted. It's such a powerful statement because it means that there's never something that you do. If you do it mindfully, consciously, do it with your commitment and wholeheartedly, whatever you learn, that experience, that memory, that experience, you will be able to use somewhere. There's no such thing as
Yes.
wasted energy. There's never any such thing
Yes.
called wasted effort. As long as you applied effort, energy, commitment, you would have learned something, developed something, cultivated something that you can use in other places. So don't worry about not knowing where the direction is. I think we should be more worried about not taking any steps at all, but just keep working, keep
Yes.
learning and growing, and then we'll find a way for sure.
Dude, I really love that point. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's where we wrap it up on that point.
For sure,
No
for sure.
effort is ever wasted.
That's
As
right.
long as you're taking steps forward, then you're
right.
doing something. That is exactly what you need to do. And that's like the whole keep going thing, right?
That's it,
That's
that's
what I was
it.
ready to jump out from the rooftops. But dude, beautiful. It's so true, And that's why, like, everything's important. Even, like, kids doing sports, developing their
Yeah.
coordination skills and abilities. Anything, literally anything.
Yeah.
Losing is important.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have to, and trying hard and losing, realizing that you actually aren't, the best or whatever, These
Yes.
are all such important lessons. So just to wrap things up though, just some housekeeping. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Remember to write any comments, share.
Please.
That'd be nice too.
Yes.
And everyone have a great holiday.
Yes.
Christmas is next week, so looking forward to that. And Teacher Leigh's turning 25 on 25, so it's fired
Nice.
up.
That's next week,
Fired
guys.
up.
So don't
The
forget
end
to
of the
wish
first
Leigh.
quarter.
Yes. Yes. So don't forget to wish Leigh a happy birthday next week for Christmas.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed our episode on education. Just as quickly sum up the importance of education, how to educate ourselves, and how to use education to provide value to society. Hope you guys like this episode on education, and look forward to see you guys soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.